CEO and founder of Parenting with a Purpose. Our strive here at the podcast is to reach every home, whether it's single moms, married, single dads, whatever it is, foster parents, whatever, just bringing the ownership and responsibility and nobility back into parenting. Get comfortable with uncomfortable conversations. All parents need some help and guidance, and I'm just here to be a guide. Hey everybody, welcome back to Parenting with a Purpose. I am the one and only Donna Janel, where we strive to bring back the responsibility, nobility, and beauty back into parenting. As you know, as I always say, parents are the bows and our children are arrows, and they will land wherever we send them, right? Wherever we aim them. It may not be today, newsflash, it may not be tomorrow, it may not be in the next 5 years, right? But eventually they will land where we aim them. As long as we close them, as long as we're not sending them out in the world naked, as long as we're giving them tools and techniques to make sure that and strategies of how to survive this world, because parents are the first teachers, parents are the first leaders, the guiders. Parents are everything, because what goes on in the household prepares your children to enter the real world, right? So that's what we do at Parenting with a Purpose. As you know, this month is Father's Day. Father's Day is coming up on the 23rd, I believe, and the whole month of June though is dedicated to fathers.
It's 16th, yeah.
It's 16th?
The 23rd is my twin's birthday.
Yo,
wait,
Father's Day is this Sunday?
Yes.
Yo, crap! Father's Day is this Sunday, y'all. Wow. Oh man,
Yeah.
the presents is coming in a little bit later than I don't know how I missed that. I know how I missed that because a lot of stuff going on in my life. Father's Day is this Sunday, but the month of June is dedicated to all men, right? I just wanted a bunch of testosterone in the studio talking about what it is to be a father. So last week we talked about the importance of a father, the father role. So this week I have a guest, y'all, and guess what? His Ceez is in the house.
What's going on, everybody?
And we're talking about pretty much all things father, right? All things dad. So we're going to dig and dive into the importance of it, the responsibility, the challenges of fatherhood, because we know that faces a lot of challenges, particularly in the African-American community. I want to kind of dig into that and see what's going on in the thoughts and the why fathers do certain things or the struggles and things that they're dealing with. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. It's an open conversation about fathers, right? Y'all know that this topic is dear to my heart, as I explained last week about the sensitivity of having a father and a father not being around, and now raising children with their dads not around. You know, I'm divorced, so that my kids, you know, my son Ceez his dad, but then I also have my nieces, right, who father had passed away and my sister passed away. So I'm raising kids, right? A single mom out here trying to really be the best person for them, but not be a father to them, right? So how do I help them navigate in the world without having an active father in their life? We're going to talk about this tonight. I got a couple questions for Ceez, because, you know, he's the dad, he's the man out here, and I don't want to take that man role. I don't care how many times you slice it. I'm a mom. I'm not a father. Again, Father's Day is the 16th coming up, so please don't tell me Happy Father's Day, y'all. Please don't do it. All right, welcome.
I'm glad you're not one of them. Thank you for having me. You know, I see a lot of women who are single mothers, you know, take on that wish me a happy Father's Day. And, you know, I have nothing against single mothers. You know, at one point in time, I was a single father before I met with my fiance. And so I understand the struggle of being a single parent. You know, and I could not replace their mother, no matter how hard I tried. You know,
right.
One thing it did for me as a father, though, it made me a different type of father, because before that, I was real stern, disciplined, and old school. So being a single father, it made me have to be more compassionate, have more of a softer side to raising my youngest son at the time, who is now 11, and I've been with my fiance for about 8 years now. So she came in when he was 3, but those first 3 years, it was really tough.
Yeah, it ain't no joke, right?
Absolutely.
It ain't no joke.
Shout out to all the single parents doing it, holding it down, man, you know.
I had a couple single fathers on here last year. I think I had 3 single fathers. They was out here in the community raising their kids, doing the best they can, and they were on here explaining stuff. And I think we don't give single fathers enough props. Like, we don't give fathers in general enough props. Honestly,
that part.
Being a single mom, like, I know, you know, the ins and outs, what it takes, but at the same time, like, there are fathers who the father role is so important.
Nah, absolutely, especially if you got sons. You know, I'm a father of 6 sons. You know, 6 sons.
George, and George.
The oldest son that I take care of is my stepson. I met I took care of him since he was 3 months when I first got with my oldest son's mom. He was 3 months, and she ended up getting pregnant. And he was the first person to call me dad.
Wow.
So, we still had his bond, even though he's in North Carolina. We stay in touch daily. He talks to me, sends me updates, and I'm trying to get him up here for the summer. But and then I have 4 biological, and then my fiance has a 13-year-old son. And
wow. So, you got any girls in the mix?
Nope, all boys.
Wow.
6 sons, all boys. And it's kind of what led me into doing the work that I do. For those that don't know, I'm an intervention specialist with the Making a Change group, and I also the case manager for our school-based program. So, besides losing my brother to gun violence, I just know the impact of having my father growing up. My father took me when I was 13. Didn't take me from my mom, but he moved over to the east side, closer to my mom, and as soon as he did that, my mom went to Delaware. My dad's whole purpose was to move close, so we could have that bond, and I could have 2 homes to go back and forth to. And for some unforeseen circumstances, my mom had to reroute and go to Delaware. So, but it ended up being a blessing because I ended up going to school down there. But I just know the impact of having my father, even though I made some bad decisions and still fell victim to the streets. But I didn't go as deep in as most people, probably because I knew I had that father at home. Right. When I did certain stuff, I always knew, if I get caught doing this, my dad's gonna kick my A double crooked letter.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying? So having that, not necessarily fear, but that respect for my father,
right.
It kept me from doing certain things. Like when it came to hurting people, I was always about $1, so I was a hustler. But I was never a violent individual. Like I never felt the need to hurt one of my brothers, which is kind of why when I transitioned to do this work, it was kind of not easy for me, but it was like, it's easy for me to show another guy love, because I've had that from my father. Mm-hmm. And what I kind of see is that, guys who raised up in this environment who don't have a father, they don't necessarily know how to show another man love without thinking it's gay or feeling uncomfortable with their sexuality. It's nothing for me to tell my brother I love you and mean it and be comfortable, because I don't love you in a form as though where I want to touch you physically. I love you to a form where I would never harm you if I'm there for you, if you need something. And, so that's one of the things I think is most important about what I do and, where I come from and why I do what I do.
You think that portion of loving your brother comes from the love that your father had given you?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Like he wasn't just talking the talk, he walked the walk.
Yeah, it's crazy because I don't really remember have my dad telling me he loved me too much growing up. Okay. But I felt it. You know what I'm saying?
Talk about that.
It's like my dad was real old school. Shout out to my dad. He's still around. He'll be 77 this August. So God bless him. And just like I said, he made sure I had clothes on my back. He made sure I never wanted for anything. And when I did wrong, he took those things from me. Wow. My biggest thing, I always got in trouble in school around December, which is my birthday time. Which was hard because my birthday's the week before Christmas. So it took me until I was in like the 8th grade to realize, like, yo, dude, you gotta stop messing up. Yeah. Or like I messed up every December. Parties was taken away, gifts would be returned. Well, that's what he would tell me, but he would put them in a tuck, until I straightened up, So Christmas time, I'm not gonna let you have a bad Christmas, but this is what I need from you if I give you these things, or they will be taken again. Right. So just having that, that ear, that voice of somebody who looked like me, what I'm saying, not just look like me because he's my father, but look like me as a black man in the community. And my dad was always successful. When I say successful, I don't mean like rich. He went to the Navy, he traveled the world. He worked since he was 11. He lost his father at a young age. So my dad grew up without a father.
Oh, wow.
Which is kind of probably why he made sure me and my brothers, because I'm the youngest I got 5 brothers, I got 5 sisters. So I'm the youngest of 10. Okay. You know what I'm saying? And it's split up some step, but that's our family's our family, blood or not. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's kind of why it's so easy for me to take on the role of being a father to other people's children. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. As far as ladies that I've been involved with, because I've watched my dad do it. Before my brother Travis passed, I watched him do it. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So it's just something that's been instilled for me since a young age. Like, no matter, family is loyalty. Blood makes you related. You know what I'm saying? That's something I live by. So that loyalty that we had, that bond we had, like if you're going to listen to me and take on the knowledge that I'm going to give to you, then I'm going to continue to pour into you. Right. And I do the same thing with my mentees. Like, I don't consider them my kids, but we have a uncle big brother relationship where some of them come and they just come and talk to me and tell me things that they probably wouldn't tell their mom.
Right. What made you? I hear so much about pretty much what was instilled to you, like structure and discipline, and that's why when I tell people that parents are the bows and our children are arrows and they will land where we aim them eventually. This is a prime example of that. Your dad was a bow and he was pulling. When you talk about things that he pulled stuff away, because as a bow and an arrow, you got to pull that back.
Absolutely.
So there's certain things that he pulled back from you so that you can learn and grow and understand the value of things, right? So what made you be able to, like, what's your thought pattern about coming into the mentoring group or mentoring kids on the street? Like, what did you see that was a lack that you figure out you need to step in, like something's off here or something?
Just the violence, and when I say violence, just all the shooting and the nonsense that's been brewing in our community within the last 4 or 5 years, and what really hit it for me was when I started seeing athletes die at a young age, kids that don't even have a chance to live, like my little cousin Stone, Nakis, a few others. I mean, I don't really want to get the name of names, but just to see those young brothers continue, or to see this pattern continue amongst our young people, and I felt like I had a voice, so why not use it for something positive? I reached out to actually Uncle P, when I first got in the mindset, because my original thing was to start like a Big Brother program.
Right, okay.
And some things had happened. I got in some trouble with the law because, I was still hustling at the time. So they raided my crib, and I guess that was their way of trying to show the community and deter me from, keep fighting this fight, when all they really did was give me a clean slate.
Right.
So give me a chance to actually, come home and do what I'm doing and actually walk it now instead of just talking it.
Right.
So,
yeah.
And brothers like Pierre, Corey, Miss Carol Kazim, and just people like that. They were all in my corner, and they was like, "Yo, you important, bro. You got to continue this fight." Because I was deterred. Uncle P used to come see me out the county, and we had conversations all the time. And he was like, "What are you doing with your time to build yourself?" And my main thing was just not being taken away from my kids again.
Right.
Because Yes, I had a woman at home who was a mother figure, but at the end of the day, we wasn't married, so it wasn't really her obligation. Granted, she's a great woman; she did everything by that that a wife would do, which is why we're in the process of getting married. But just a fear of what if she was like, "This is too much," you feel me, and just walk away. Because all my kids have their mothers aren't dead, no, but one son mother is in North Carolina, and the others, I don't know where she is. Don't really want to get into that, but it's just. Like I had to be that. I'm that mother and that father in my head.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Until we had the conversation, and she was like, "I'm with you. I'm here with you. I know you a package. You feel me?" So that right there just drove me and gave me the backbone and support I need to come out here and help other people's children, because I had to make sure mine was good first.
Okay. What do you in your own words, in your own thought, like what's the importance of a father? What is the importance of fathers being in their children's lives and in the family setting? I'm
a firm believer that only men can raise men. I've seen single mothers raise great men. So it can be done.
Right.
But it's more valuable and it's more sustainable when a guy is teaching a guy to be a man. You know what I'm saying? I watched my father get up and go to work every day, and it instilled the same thing in me, and I'm trying to instill the same in my boys. So it's just having that comfortability with somebody that looks like you, who knowing where you come from. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these guys don't know where they come from because they don't know who their father is.
Right.
So they don't know. They know their mom's side of the family. They know what their mom comes from, and the historical DNA buildup, as opposed to the father's side, where you may not necessarily know your father. You may know some of the family, but you don't know where your father comes from and what type of man you come from, because you don't see that every day. And why I say that's big, because even though I was ripping and running, I always knew my father had a good heart. I watched my father help other kids.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Even though I was still a kid myself, And as I became into my manhood, that's why I wanted to do what I wanted to do, because I've seen my dad help. It was this one guy, his name was Derek. He was in the Big Brother program. He was my dad's little brother, you know, and we used to, you know, interact all the time. You know, my dad kind of felt like it was a competition at one point between me and him, and I'm like, nah, I love Derek. Like, you know, he's teaching me things that I didn't know because I wasn't necessarily great at basketball. He was nice at basketball, and further down the line, you know, I ran into Derek one day, man. He asked me, he said, how your dad doing? I said, he's doing good. He said, man, tell your dad I appreciate him. And this is 10, 15 years. He hasn't seen my dad, but he still thinks and hears some of the conversation that my dad had with him, and I want that impact, you know, in somebody's life besides my own children.
Right. Now, I'm going to back up a little bit. You said that women can't raise men. It's not. I don't think that is that they can't raise them. We're not fathers. We're not substitute for a father, period. We do the best that we can. But what do you think that the significance, like there's a difference, like as we're raising children, right? You know, there's the mother role, there's the father role. There's certain things that a mother can teach a child, male and female, and there's certain things that a father will teach a child, male and female. So what do you think the difference is? I can tell you a bunch of differences being a single mom. I can tell you some stuff. But, like, what do you think that as a role of a father, like, what do you think, if you think about it, because you yourself was a single father, what do you think the significance role of a father is? Like, what differ than from a mother? I'll tell you one thing right now. Let me tell you what my son did.
Go ahead.
He was younger. Now, I was married, and my ex-husband left. I think my son was like 3. I was married for like those 12 years prior to that. And as my son started getting older, you know, he was going to his dad every other weekend. And he was medically complex, so he had like a lot of medical issues. So he always only wanted to be around me. He would go to his dad every other weekend. But this particular time, right, I'm a mom, I'm a pediatric nurse. So I know a lot of stuff, but some stuff I'm just not willing to go into with my son. So I think he was about 8 or 9. And he came, he was like, Mom, you know, his area was always hard, or when he wakes up, right? He, you know, and I'm trying to explain to him the best way, but I can't explain to him because I don't have that feeling. Like, I can't really, I can tell you what the textbook said, I can tell you what I know,
but it's different than when you experience it.
Still, you know, like, I'm like, son, and my son tells me everything. So some stuff I got to YouTube, some stuff I got to look in the book for, some stuff just because, I mean, he was going to his dad, but his dad was a very quiet guy, and he really wasn't, you know, how you can have a father that's there, but not there, right?
Absolutely.
So that's when I started realizing, wait, flag on the play, this ain't for me. Like, I can't tell my son how his body is supposed to feel when I'm not a man at all. So that's when a reality check to me is like, all right, being a single mom is not a flex. It is not one of those things
it's very hard.
It's not a flex. Hard. But I started to try to get different men in his life to try to mentor him because I just wasn't ready for those conversations. With my daughters, you know, moms, we talk to girls about their periods and stuff like that.
Right. And that's a conversation I'm glad I ain't got to go through.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, but like, what do you tell your son? Like, you're supposed to feel this way? He's like, yo, it hurt every morning. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you.
And that's definitely probably the biggest differential is, you know, going through puberty and, you know, teaching them how to take care of their self-hygiene, the hygiene, you know, properly washing those manly areas. And, you know, I haven't got there yet, but my son just got his first girlfriend. So I'm going to have that conversation about, you know, how to treat a lady, how to properly, you know, and I try to show him every day, you know, by just how I treat my fiance. But just, and I'm not even honestly ready for that conversation because, you know, my son, he's 13 and I still see little Kavari, you know what I'm saying? Right. And it's happening so fast, man.
So fast.
And I try to learn with each child, each interaction. I try to, you know, what did I do wrong? How could I do this better? But it's really no difference other than just, you know, probably those conversations and being more comfortable with having to explain those growing pains. Growing pains of life, you know, and just being there to give your son or daughter, you know, relationship advice from a male perspective, because as a father to young ladies, you want your daughter, and you can tell me this is true or not, most women look for a man that was either like their father or their father figure. You know what I'm saying? So as a man, men who have daughters, man, you know, you got to watch how you treat your lady or the mother of your child, because that your daughter will grow up looking for that type of person that you lay the foundation for. So if you're going to be a nut ass, excuse my language, Sorry, I don't know. If you're gonna be a nut, you know what I'm saying, then your daughter is gonna end up with a nut. You feel me? That karma is going to come back. You know, so just gotta be careful what we do in front of our kids. Even when you got boys, you know, if you beat on their mom, you know what I mean, then 9 times out of 10 your son's gonna grow up and be a woman beater.
Yo, it's crazy how the mind works, right? Because a lot of times if you don't have this either mother or father in your life, two things happen. Either one, you're going to be the best mother and father in the world, or you're going to be the worst mother and father in the world. Like, it's crazy how,
that's true.
You know, either you emulate what you see, or you become better, right? And that's the same thing about, like, even when you're dating, like, if a father treated their mother a particular way, either the boy is going to treat a woman that way, or they're going to treat him the totally opposite, and then they get walked on. So it's like, it's crazy because domestic violence works in both ways, right?
Yes, it does.
So if you see domestic violence, you're more than likely to also do that, or you're not going to do it, and then you become a victim of it because you don't have that balance.
Absolutely.
Right. So that's with male and female. So girls, like, you know, I didn't grow up with my dad, and I was a daddy's girl, you know, until he left. And I started realizing, like, the pattern of men that I was choosing. And I was like, I had daddy issues, straight up. It's because of daddy issues. When I look back on it, I was looking for somebody who wasn't exactly like my dad, but had some of his traits, right? So sometimes you go, like, way on the other side of the spectrum just to try to either get away from the hurt and pain, or or you're so comfortable with the hurt and pain that you choose the same thing, right?
Absolutely.
So that's the same thing with men and women. I think that one of the things that I see definitely as a single mom is that with my son, even our daughters, we're so much, I think we're softer for our, you know, our children, because, you know, we birthed them and our heart is just, but as a man, like, the structure is different, the discipline is different, and the respect is different. Like, they honor, I watched it with my own eyes. My son worships me, he loves me, but at the same time, a male says something, he moves. I watched a TikTok the other day, and it was like it was a complication, and it was 5 different kids, like, from like 6 months to probably 3 years old, and the mom would tell them something to do, and they wouldn't move. The mom had to tell them like 5 or 10 times, right? But as soon as the dad walks in the room, he didn't have to yell, he didn't have to scream or anything. He just was like, "Then your mom tell you go to bed," and then boom, they go to bed. Just that presence of a man alone changes the trajectory of our children's lives.
Absolutely, I completely agree, and that's what I grew up like. When I first started as a father, that was all I thought my role was supposed to be, was a disciplinarian. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, all right, mom got the other stuff, but when they out of line, that's when dad got to say something. You know, I was originally a quiet dad until I became a single dad. You know, now that don't work, because, you know, that hole, that void that they was looking for, I had to try to fill that. And my personality at the time wasn't cut for that. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't cut to be a, you know, I would tell my kids all the time stuff like, "Oh, stop acting soft," or, you know, I'm not babying you, and stuff like that. And, you know, in all actuality, who else was they gonna get it from?
Right.
So I know I had to tap into my own emotions and tap into my own self-awareness to realize, you know, I'm doing more damage than good to my own children by trying to just stick into this disciplinary role, be this tough guy. You know, in all actuality, like, I ain't no super tough guy. Like,
right.
Even in the streets, I wasn't no super tough guy. You know what I'm saying? I move different, but I've always had a heart. I've always had compassion for people.
And I think, you know, from back in the day, like, the role of a father has always been the provider, security, and protector, right? So these are like strong roles, and I think that they had just passed down generation on generation, and we think that that's how it's supposed to be. Like, men, the mother role was to be the emotional person, and all that, the compassion stuff. But in our actuality, statistics show that men who show men love, men begin to love more. Like, the emotional piece. Like, I think sometimes, you know, I put food in your mouth, clothes in your back, and you got a house to live in. Like, that's don't go on those days. That's like that back in the day stuff or whatever. Like, what about the emotional piece? What about the mental piece of it?
See, I was raised, like I said, my dad's 70, about to be 77. You know, so when I was born, he was already in his mid-30s. We 31 years apart, so I'm 37. I'll be 37 this year. No, we 30 years apart, because I'll be 37 this year, he'll be 77. damn, we 40 years apart. So imagine, when I was born, he was already 40.
Right.
So by the time I'm 16, he's 56. You know, he's like, people used to always be like, yo, your grandpa. Like, nah, nigga, that's my dad.
That's my dad.
Like, and my dad don't play. So, you know, I ended up, you know, I was a sneaky child. Most kids are sneaky. I'm not gonna say all children are sneaky, but you know, I wanted to, you know, I wanted to be hanging with my friends. You know, I wanted to do what they was doing, even though I knew it was wrong. I'm like, well, if I don't get caught, I ain't gonna get in trouble. You know,
Right.
and just having that presence, man, you know, it instilled a lot in me that I try to instill in my kids. 'Cause I still try to, you know, take some of his upbringing that he put in me, and then I try to flip it. I think about, all right, why did I stray away from the road that he had paved for me? What was it that attracted me, or what was that the lack of? Because I don't think I lacked for anything. I said he got me everything, and I really think that I really lacked was that physical love. You know what I'm saying? Because I had brothers, but the gap between my brothers was so big. They were so much older than me.
Right.
You know, it was like I was the only child.
Okay.
So I was looking for that brotherhood as opposed to, you know, I got a great father, but I need somebody to hang with. I need somebody to kick it with, somebody to chill with, you know.
Makes sense.
And that's where I started falling into the wrong crowds, you know. And it's just, as a father, you know, we want to be hard on our kids. We want to be tough. But you got to find that balance. And that's something that I'm still working on right now. I'm trying to find that balance to where as though I can be my kids' buddy, because I don't want to be friends with you.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? I want you to have a relationship with me, though, where you can come and talk to me. You know what I'm saying? And that's something that I'm working on right now with my older kids. So by the time my twins get 5 and 6, I know how to approach that at an earlier age, as opposed to waiting until they almost, you know, well, they're not mentally developed, but you know what I'm saying? They older.
Right.
At 13, 14, they start finding out who they are, trying to figure out what clicks they with. And I tell my son all the time, you know, a lot of those kids that you're conversating with, they not your friend.
Absolutely.
You know, I work at my son's school. So it's,
oh man.
Yeah. And, you know, when I first started, you know, kids used to, welcome, your son doing this, your son doing that, and I had to come to the realization they just want to see me embarrass him because of the way I react. I wasn't reacting like a faculty or staff member. I'm reacting like a father.
Right.
And I'm not here in that capacity. You know, I'm here as a mentor to the entire school.
Right.
So I would have to treat him the same way I treated my other students until we got home. And I had to learn to stop chastising my son in front of his peers, because they did it they got an enjoyment out of it. You know, it was to the point where they wanted to see him embarrassed, or, oh yeah, your dad chews you out in the hallway. But at the same time, I turn around, I chew you out the same way, young boy. Yeah, I may not, but the difference is, and I would never do it in the school building. This is my son. He go home with me. I will whoop his A double crooked letter. I said, but you can get away with more, because there's nothing I can physically do to, other than verbally correcting you. There's nothing that I can do. And a lot of these young boys, they not scared of that. They don't care. They walk. They talk to you like you one of their peers. Like I done been called a dick. Excuse my language, but I'm gonna tell y'all what I've been called, a dickhead. They done told me to suck their dick. I mean, these is middle school kids. Whoa. And I'm looking at y'all like, yo, do y'all talk like this in front of y'all mom? Like, where your parents at? Oh, my mom did this. But the thing I never heard was my dad. Yeah. Those kids that did have a dad, you could tell, because when you say I'm calling home, the fear of God light up in their face. Now, some mothers, it was like that too, but it goes back to that, you know, what type of mother are you? Are you a mother that's friends with your child? You know, are you one of them mothers that really, really discipline? And it's kind of hard to, like, you got to start now, y'all. Like, any single parent, co-parents, whatever, get on the same page when it comes to disciplining these kids, because right now in our community, the biggest issue we have is these kids that's not being supervised at night, which is why they just installed this curfew. Right. You know, as somebody who works with the youth in the community, I know this is a little off topic.
No, it's all relative though. You
know, we gotta get control of our youth. Flat out. Like, you know, we got to bring the village aspect back to where, because if I tell people all the time, you see my son, first of all, my sons don't go outside. I'm afraid I don't want to lose my kids. So, but my son's getting to that age, he's a teenager now. It's going to be like I'm going to have to let him go. Absolutely. I gotta, let him go and let him walk with God and have, I'm a religious person, so I gotta, trust in God's gonna protect him, and it's a scary thing.
It's fear, like I talk about this all the time. It's like parenting out of fear. And it's a real thing. Like, you're scared that your kid's going to come back in a body bag. Like, you don't, even though you pour so much into your children, but it's the world around where they live. And you don't know what's going on. And that's why you got to trust God with everything, because you just don't know. And I think sometimes as parents, because we parent in fear, we restrict our kids. They live a restrictive lifestyle because we're afraid to let them go outside. And instead of teaching them how to go outside, right? Mm-hmm. What to do. Now, it may not, rear all the results that we wanted to or whatever, because kids, teenagers' minds change and everything. But at least if they have the foundation. Like, we talked about you just talked about earlier, like kids are out because they're not being supervised. A lot of times, what we see now with this generation is parents are trying to really be their friend. Like, I'm not your friend. I had a conversation, I'm not your friend. Because that line of respect will change. Like, you're going to talk to your friend a particular way. You're going to respond to your friend a particular way. But I am your guardian. I'm your parent. I am to lead, teach, and guide you. So that part right there. So a lot of times, parents are trying to be their kid's friend. Or parents are out here living what they call their best life and forgetting about their children. No, so, like, the kids are being home, not being supervised on the street because the parent could be in the club. The parent could be at their friends, at their parents' friend's house. Or the other flip side of that, if you're a single parent, you may be working 2 to 3 jobs, right? So it's like, how do we help parents? My biggest thing is like helping parents, because parents need a village too, right?
Absolutely.
So every time something happened with our youth, the first thing that you see was, where are the parents? And then the second conversation is, where was the dad? Like, that's always, it's like, one, it's the parents' issue. Secondly, it's because the dad's not in the home. This is what you hear all the time. So it's like, how do we get parents to understand, or how do we give the parents the tools to be able to parent their children properly, to be able to have the proper resources that, yes, I may have to work at night. So how do I make sure that my child is okay at home at night, or with somebody responsible that's not going to let them run the street?
I mean, and that comes to, they got to want the help. A lot of people, they don't want to swallow their pride. I don't need no help. I got it. These my kids. You know what I'm saying? And
it ain't
just because you need help don't make you a bad person. It makes you, to me, it actually makes you a better person, because you're not afraid to say that I can't do this alone. Man. You know what I'm saying? If that was the case, then, kids wouldn't need 2 parents.
Exactly.
Parents would be, everybody would be an individual parent. So,
right.
Yes, salute to all my strong single parents. I salute y'all. I commend y'all. I've been y'all. But everybody needs help. Everybody. Even if you feel like you got it all together. And some of y'all do. I see it. You feel me? Mm-hmm. And like I said, that's great. But it's still places or times are going to come where you're going to need that support. You know what I'm saying? It may not be right now. You know what I'm saying? But I don't want to guarantee it, but I'm just saying, as a parent,
no, I will guarantee you that you need a man in your life, your child's life. You need a father figure or a mentor, because every stage of growth and development needs a man there, period. Yes. So I guarantee you, if that's not there, there's going to be problems. And it's not, these are the statistics, and I'm living it my own self. Like, I'm a great mom. Again, I've done everything I could for my son, but at the same time, we cannot replace a father. We cannot, no matter how much we give our child, because then we end up start giving them too much because they lack a father. Like, no matter how much we pour into our children, you can never replace the opposite sex.
Absolutely.
Period. A single dad cannot replace the mom. Like, you just can't do it, because he said no, because our roles are different and they're significant. So there is a lack when one parent is not doing their part. There is a complete lack. And the question is, how do we, as a community, as a society, help parents understand that it's not a flex, right? So how do we get people to understand, like, you need help? I had a pride issue in the beginning. When my whole thing was, when my ex-husband left, and his mom was like, oh, you ain't going to be able to do it without him and this, that, and the other. Like, even though I was in the same house and pretty much doing it all myself. But I was pushing so hard to be the best mother I could possibly be, right, with 2 kids. And I was just doing everything. getting burned out. And then when my sister and her husband passed away, I got 2 of their kids, right? So now I'm a single mom of 4 kids. And my whole strive was to be the best mother I can be, giving them stuff that they don't have now that I don't have these father figures in the house. And when I tell you, like, I literally killed myself trying to do that. Burnt out, because you cannot replace the other parent no matter how you slice it. I tried it, and it is uncomfortable, and it's not effective, and it's a disservice to our children if we sit around and we think that we don't need the other parent. It is
absolutely.
a disservice.
And we got to stop carrying personal issues into like parenthood, you know what I'm saying? Because sometimes a father not around, not because he don't want to be, but it's because the mom don't. Like, and like I said, situation scenarios vary, but you know, I've seen great fathers ripped out of their kids' life because of a bitter female, or because the dad got a new woman, or you know, just some of the goofiest stuff around. So you know, and the major thing that they say is that the men don't want to be around. That's not necessarily true. You know, sometimes it's the woman make it look like they don't want the man around, but they won't say that because it makes them look crazy.
Right.
So they'll say, "Oh yeah, he don't want nothing to do with my son." The whole time you got this guy blocked. Yeah, he blocked on your phone, on social media. Like, he has no way to get in touch with his child, and you know, and kids can grow up and resent people for like that, because you know eventually kids get old enough to find out the truth.
Man, you hit that on the money, Ceez. I've coached parents, right? And I be trying to tell them, like, listen, first of all, I don't care about child support. Like, honestly, child support, like, you need to be able to support your kids, but that should not be, if you don't give me child support, you cannot see your child. And I've talked to men who, the reason why their relationship is so strained is because the mother has blocked that because, oh, you ain't paying for him. Well, first of all, I didn't know it was a pawn. Like, I'm so confused. Like, what's going on? We playing chess? Like, what's going on? Or the female is bitter, or, you know, 9 times out of 10 is because that relationship didn't work out. And then what happens is they see their child and they see the father in their child, right? So then they start treating their child different. It's like so much that comes with it. But a lot of times, the issue is, it comes down to a financial issue, you know? Being frustrated that you got to support this kid on your own, but at the same time, you're not looking holistically at what it is to raise children. Like, that emotional piece, that mental piece, that love and that guidance still is needed. And I always urge women, you know, single mom, like, stop doing that. Listen, if the man don't pay, he don't pay. Like, at the end of the day, I'm not going to go off on that, even if you're struggling, though. But I feel like it's so much more important for that relationship to be intact versus you getting a check. Then I'm not saying it's not hard, because it's hard out here without the money. But at the same time, I think when we look in the future, like, it really pays off for allowing them to have a foundational relationship with their opposite sex.
No, absolutely. You know, like I said, you know, if kids didn't need both parents, then there wouldn't be no need for us to, you know, a lot of people enjoy making the kids. But then when stuff get rough, they don't want to take care of them, or they don't want to. And you know, earlier my parents, and I was guilty of that, you know. But my thing was, see, I had the upper hand. You know, yeah, you could leave, but I'm keeping my kids,
right? Because
this is their address, this is their home. You live with me. Okay. You don't have to be here. Oh, what, you gonna put my kids on the street? Oh, hell no. My kids is always welcome here. Right. And that's kind of how I ended up becoming a single father. You know, I put myself in that position, you know, and at the time, like I said, I'm telling I seen my dad do it, and my dad sitting there looking at me like, you got to be a goddamn fool.
He said, you got to be kidding.
He said, you want to be a mom now too? I said, what you mean? He said, you gonna find out. He said, you gonna find out. And you know, he supported me. He helped me as much as he could. If it wasn't for my father, I probably would have had to either give my kids back, or, you know, I'd have had to swallow my pride and be like, yo, I need you. Knowing I didn't want nothing to do with them. But I also am a firm believer, and this is I'm talking about my second son, my second baby mom. You know, I did not want you, and she, you know, she was on some, well, we can't be a family as a family, then I don't want nothing to do with the child. I'm like, that's fine. I'll take it.
And it's usually the opposite way too.
And that's why it blew my mind, you know. And I was just like, you know what? I think she think I was gonna fold. But I don't come from a fold, and I've never seen my dad fold at nothing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Even though, I'm nowhere near the father that my dad was to me, but I feel like if I could get half of that, then I'm a great father. You know what I'm saying? Right. And I just like to salute the guys who I've personally watched grow up without no dad, and they are some of the best fathers I've seen. I'm learning from them.
Wow. And
these are guys that didn't have no example. You know what I'm saying? That's what I love about my friends and the guys I hang with. Because first of all, I don't hang with no deadbeat fathers. You know what I'm saying? Because I was a single father, so I know how important it is to be one. I've watched, and I tell my friends all the time, for those that might not be there, I'm like, bro, you didn't have one. You know what that's like. Yeah. Why would you send another? Why would you set somebody else up like they set you up?
Man, and that part right there.
Like, so, and guys, fellas, if you watching, I hope it's some fellas tuned in. Listen, be there. I know it might be hard, it might be difficult out here, but oh man, she's not gonna let me. Listen, bro, we got the same rights that they do.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Unless you've been to court and you signed over your rights, fella, you have rights to your child. You have to pay child support. That might be there, but listen, that bond that you're gonna get with your child is way more important than any amount of money you gotta give up.
Absolutely.
I promise you. Like I said, as the black culture evolves, we see more black dads. We getting the recognition we deserve, but we still got a long way to go, fellas. They still got this what's the word I'm looking for? This stereotype on us that black men aren't good fathers, and that's bullshit. We some of the best fathers around. Absolutely. They just don't publicize it enough because their goal was to take us away from the family.
Absolutely.
That's why welfare was invented.
Yep.
That's where all that come from. You can't have welfare if the man is in the house. Why do y'all think that is? Them food stamps ain't that important. That you got to take your father away from your son, or you got to lie about your son's father living with you to get Section 8. That's because they don't want to see black families win. We gotta change the narrative. We gotta fix the culture, y'all. Like, you know what I'm saying? And fellas, fight for your rights. Don't let nobody take nothing away from you, bro. Like, I know it's hard. I know it's stressful. And I done seen some of my guys. Listen, I done been one of them fellas that broke down. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't break down because I couldn't see I broke down because it was so hard. You know what I'm saying? As a single parent, be there for your child, man. Because nothing hurted me more than crying in front of my sons. Even to this day, like, yes, I tell my sons it's okay to cry, but I try not to cry in front of them. Because they look at daddy as a strong man, and some days I don't feel strong.
Right. You know, and I think it's important for them to see that you, like, listen, I ain't got to be strong. Like, who said, like, where was it, who wrote the fact that parents are supposed to be superheroes? Like we're supposed to wear the cape all the time, or we're supposed to not be able to be emotionally attached. Like, listen, because I think that it's sending a false narrative to our children that we're not supposed to have emotion, men or female. Like, if they see that I'm hurt, like, this is a real feeling, let's talk about why I'm hurt.
But you know who did that to us, right? We did that to ourselves by the way and the upright, by us being in these urban communities, and everybody just feel like they gotta be tough. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because what's the first thing they tell us is you against the world.
Yeah.
In order for you to deal with that, you feel like you gotta be tough. Oh, I'm going against the whole world.
Right.
Like, and it's not the whole world per se, but think about it. The highest death rate among anybody is black on black crime.
Talk about that.
And we were so quick. No disrespect to anything that happened during that Black Lives Matter movement, but we was so quick to come together with a white cop kneeled on a black man's neck, which we had the right to do. But when we in the hood, and little Jim killed little John, we just say, "Oh, I ain't snitching. Right. That ain't got nothing to do with me. That ain't my why." Right. That's more important than a cop killing a black man, because we killing our own. We making our own extinct. Right. It's a generation that's getting ready. It ain't gonna be no grandfathers because it ain't no dads now to raise them. Right. Come on, man.
And they talk about, it's almost like it's like casualty of war. It's like, but why are we warring with each other? It doesn't make any sense. And I think that's why it's so important as fathers, like, to step up, like see something, say something, have that conversation with your kids. Like, I hear all the time kids talk about, oh, I'm not snitching, but so then your friend died and you're still not snitching. Like, I think it's just I can't say from a male perspective, but I'm sick and tired of seeing people die. I know for sure.
And, you know, not to cut you off, but as a person who comes from the street culture, I'm not saying that I condone snitching because, you know, if you live by a street code, then you live by that code. What I'm talking about is, you know, like if you go rob a bank with somebody and your friend get caught and he tell on you and he was there, that's snitching. But if you witness somebody robbing a bank and you call the cops, you're a civilian. You have nothing. And I'm not, because I don't know your upbringing, but I'm going off the you that I met right now. I would expect you to call the authorities because you don't live by the code that I grew up by.
Right.
And maybe you did. Maybe you outgrew the code, which is fine because that's where I'm getting at.
Yeah.
You know, I'm getting to a point in my life where if I see a crime, I'm liable to tell on you, flat out.
Yeah.
I don't care if you kill somebody in front of me. I'm liable to tell on you. Yeah. Now, selling drugs and all that, listen, I'm a hustler. I grew up, I had to feed my kids that way. You know what I'm saying? And this is another stereotype that we don't realize that we put ourselves in as black men. You got two type of dads out here. You got your everyday 9 to 5 regular dad, and you got what we call a street dad. A street dad is somebody who is there, they're present in their children's lives. And when they're with their child, they're doing everything that a regular father would do. But when they go outside that door and they hit that block, they're putting themselves at risk. They're not thinking about their child. They are because they're trying to get money to feed their family. Right. But they're feeding it by the wrong means. I used to be a street dad. You know what I'm saying? I was one of them dudes that you couldn't tell me I wasn't doing the right thing because I'm doing it for the right reasons. Right. I'm doing it to put food on my table. But at the same time, it's a lot of street dads that don't make it home. Right. So now, as a male, you know, as a street dad, you going out there with the right intentions, but you might got another guy over here who ain't got no kids. They don't have nothing to live for. Right. They don't have nobody that depends on them. And you got more than them, they're going to take from you. Not realizing that y'all pretty much got the same much because everything I'm making is going to my kids. You know what I'm saying? What you making, you out here hustling for Jordans, jeans, clothes, whatever. You hustling for material things. I'm hustling to make sure my kids eat. Right. And I'm not, and I don't knock those type of people, but you got to change the outlook of life because, when you with your kids, you a dad, but when you not with them, you a street nigga. And that street nigga's going to win at some point in time, and it's going to take you away from your children. You know what I'm saying? And I've learned, and I heard this because I heard a man speak in Philly. He had just came home from the feds, and that's actually his words. You know what I'm saying? I wish I could remember his name because I wanted to get him to come down and speak to, you know, children around here. But he said that to me and it registered to me because I'm like, damn, I never thought of it that way. Right, because you're still putting them at risk. You know, I mean, I grew up in Chester. I grew up in the city. Like, mostly all my first male cousins are dead and shot and killed. You know what I mean? So, you know, my brother was a hustler. Like, I've lived in Chester all my life. It's just, I just evolved, though, in my thinking. Because at some point, you get tired of people dying in your family. You get tired of seeing kids not have their father. Like, and then the male cousins who have got killed, right? Then their children are out here hustling, right? Their children are in jail. Like, you just see this cycle, like this over and over again. And at some point, like, you get tired. You're like, okay, so who's going to break this generational thing? Like, who's going to be the one? And I understand I'm all for providing for your family, right? But at what it costs? At what cost? At some point, we got to evolve from our thinking. Like, okay, maybe for a moment this was where it was at. But like you said, even going out there, I leave my kids, I'm still putting myself at risk, right? So what has to change? One, again, more resources in the community, right? More resources, and I think a lot of teaching has to be made where for people to understand, so they can change their perspective. You don't know better if you don't see better, right? Like, you can't emulate something if you don't see it. So if that's all you know, if your dad hustle, if your cousins and everybody in your family hustle, your kids gonna hustle, everything. But it has to be somebody to change that. And I think a lot of times the reason why a lot of kids are fatherless is because they're dead or in jail. So let's talk about how it's important. So even as a father in jail, how do you parent your kids in jail? I know people who dads are in jail, has been in jail all their life. So then now they're out. It's a lack of in the community. Yeah, so absolutely. how do fathers, like, you know, because jail is supposed to be rehab, right? Yeah, rehabilitation, so they say, but you know, it depends on what type of mindset you go to jail with. Like, if you go to mindset with the jail that you still gonna be a nut. While you're there, you're not going to learn, you're not going to change, you're not going to grow. And then if you go there with the mindset that, you know what, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna think, I'm gonna read. You know, those are the people that come home rehabilitated. Those are the people that come home ready for re-entry into the community, as opposed to those who may just go in there and, you know, may join with the gang or run with the guys, and those are the ones that they become repeat offenders and go back and continue to stay into the system. But to answer your question, as far as parenting from a prison system, I had to do it for a brief time. I mean, it wasn't very long, but it was long enough for me to realize that, you know, this wasn't something I want to do. You know, because you can tell a kid anything over the phone, but it's like, what you gonna do if I don't listen? What you gonna do? That's I've heard guys on the phone, or, you know, I've seen kids talk to their mom about their dad. Oh, I don't want to talk to him. What he gonna do? You know what I mean? So it's hard. You got to be a strong individual, and you got to kind of have a relationship already with that child. You know, women, you know, if take the child to see. That would be my thing. You know, take the child to where he can physically see before he can physically see his dad, where he can physically see the child, and they can interact, because it's hard to interact with somebody over a phone. Right. You know, it's hard to have that bond when I can't. Even video calls is not enough. Like, you know. Make those trips, man. If you got a father, even though if he locked up and he trying, help him. You know, to take those trips, man. You know, I've seen people, and I don't really want to say her name. It's this one lady, you know, my man's. He got locked up. He's sitting for a murder. You know, he didn't do it. Whatever. We're not gonna get into all that, but, you know, I know that she takes him to see his father faithfully. Okay. She makes hour drives. I don't care what state they move this man in. She makes sure that at least once a month that this child gets to see his father. Wow. And they have a relationship. And it kind of impacts the child to where, as though it's not like his dad is on the street, but he sees his dad. He can touch his dad. You know what I'm saying? If he don't do something wrong, he can feel that. Because sometimes as a man, that testosterone just bleeding off your body. Your kids can feel that. That goes to that point where you say when dad walk in the room and he ain't got to say much. Everything changes. That's that testosterone bleeding out. Like, oh, yo, dad feels some type of ways. You know what I'm saying? So it's important, no matter, like, that matters. And I say that because you know, I've experienced it firsthand as well, you know, with one of my stepsons, you know what I'm saying? So it's important, if you have a father and the father is trying, it's important to let that man be a part, you know what I'm saying? And especially if the kid wants to be involved. Like, if the kid wants to see their father, like, if they had a prior relationship to him going to jail, it's important that you try to keep that relationship as normal as possible, or as normal as you can in the circumstances, you know what I'm saying? Like, if he's allowed visits, like I said, take a weekend, take the time, travel up there. If you got to get a little cheap room and stay overnight so you ain't got to drive back late at night, but make an effort. It takes two. And it's important that, you know, kids see co-parenting at its peak. When I say at its peak, at its finest, you know what I'm saying? Not just mom and dad always arguing. Every time they get together, it's like, it ain't no love around that joint, because, like we said, it trickles onto adulthood and they become that type of person. They don't know how to treat their significant other because mommy and daddy always
that's
bickered.
All you know. And
even though I had a great father, you know what I'm saying, it was one time, you know, my mom and dad was never married, and they've been separated since like 97, something like that. And I was a grown man. I was probably like 19 or 20, and me and my dad was having a conversation in the kitchen, and, you know, he was verbally bashing my mom, and I had to tell my dad, like, yo, like, I don't like that. Can you stop? Yeah. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, she may not be the best mom, but she's still my mom. And you affecting how I look at her. Yeah. And my dad looked at me like, what the fuck? Because like, at the time, like, I've never really spoken up to my dad until I was around that time, because I was always afraid of my dad. Like, I could talk to him, but it's like, if I say the wrong thing, he gonna backhand me. Right. It was like, now I'm 20, you know, I was feeling myself. I'm like, man, he hit me. And my brother just told me, said, you ever hit our fucking dad, we will kick your ass. So I'm like, all right. But I ain't gonna let him talk to me any type of way neither, because I'm coming into my manhood. This is the type of man he raised me to be, and it's not to take no stuff from nobody. Right. You know what I'm saying? So, and from that moment on to this day, my dad has never, ever badmouthed my mom in front of me again. And so sometimes, like, We got to be careful what we say in front of our kids.
Absolutely.
And listen to our kids, because we at a generation right now where these kids got a voice.
They do.
Because of social media told them at an early age they have a voice.
Right.
And they are not afraid to use it. That's one of my biggest things I learned since working in the school, because the year prior to this year, I was a hard ass. I was tough on these kids. I don't want to hear that, because I was in a different role. So I came back this year as a mentor. And my job was to listen to them.
Right.
So I'm listening. Some of these kids got real life issues.
Absolutely.
We think that age is just a number, people. With the society that we growing in, and with social media giving these kids so much access to so much at early age, and guns coming in, these ghost guns coming in our community. Do you know what a ghost gun is? It's a gun that people can order offline and put together themselves.
Wait,
which
what?
makes it untraceable. That's where ghost guns come from. People, a 14-year-old child can get online, order the pieces to the gun, get the package, get on YouTube, put it together himself. Now he has a gun.
Wow.
A lot of people don't understand that. That's where these guns. That's how these kids is getting guns in these hands. Nobody's giving it to them. They're buying them themselves.
They're buying them off your account. You don't
Off
even know.
your account.
Off your Amazon.
Off your account.
You don't even.
Yeah, you think they ordering Roblox points or VC for PlayStation 5? Man, little John just ordered a semi-automatic rifle.
Right.
Under your name. And put it together off a YouTube video. And now he has protection. Because he's scared to walk down the street.
I was going to say that. And then we got to get to the root of why he thinks that that's okay to do. Wow.
Because there ain't no regular kids no more. I talk to a lot of these kids, man. And that was one of my questions for the high school kids. Like, do y'all respect regular people? Like, and one young boy answered with me, ain't no regular people. Everybody a op. I'm like, damn, even the nigga in basketball? He said if he played basketball, he from the wrong hood, he my op. I said, but the nigga play basketball.
Right. That's a lot of hurt and pain right there, though. That's hurt and pain right there. Man. That's coming from somewhere, because kids aren't born like that. Like, you're not born like that. Your environment, society has made you this way, has made you hard and rough. I mean, growing up, like, I was the roughest, toughest kid. Everybody know, you mess with Donna Carson, man, mess with any Carsons in my family, I'm coming to get you. Because I was hard and I was rough, because I was angry as an angry kid. So, and then I was bullied too. So you want to do all this crazy stuff. Like, nobody's born that way. So we got to support parents on how to, first of all, communicate with our kids, really building great relationships at home, so that we don't have to let the streets raise them or their friends. You said something earlier, though, I want to get back to before we close out, about how do you speak about the child's parent. Like, I'm a strong believer, like, you don't bash the father, you don't bash the mother. Like, I've never talked bad about, I covered my ex-husband. Like, I didn't even, like, some crazy stuff live for him, you know what I mean? Absolutely. Just so that they don't look at their dad with that perspective. But it had two ways, though, kind of messed me up with that, though. With my daughter, who's now 25, right? She grew up, she was like 9 when her dad left. And I never talked bad about her dad at all, right? Never talked bad about her dad. But once she got of age and she went to go live with her dad, at 19, he started talking bad about me. So then that messed up our relationship now, because a lot of stuff that he said wasn't true. But because she wanted her dad around and she's listening to her dad, so my daughter, honestly, y'all hearing for the first time, my 25-year-old, we don't even communicate. Because once she went to the side with her dad, that's all she heard, because she wanted her dad. So anything that her dad was feeling in her head, that's what she believed, right? So that's the one side. But then I got my son, same father, who, when he was at the house with them and they were talking bad about me, he came home and said, Mom, why are they saying this about you? Like, he was able to have, this is how I knew they were talking crazy about me, because my son told me, he said, I don't like what they're saying about you. I don't like, because that's not what I see. So, and I still never badmouthed their dad, even though he kept badmouthing me. And it's so important, because they will learn later, eventually, when they grow up, because my son knows now the truth, right? Because the crazy thing, I had a conversation with the dad, brought him to my house, my son was upstairs, and I'm counteracting his lies, like, why you lying like that? My son, I recorded the whole thing so that y'all think like I ain't crazy. He faced up to something, he owned up to some stuff he lied, but we didn't know that my son was upstairs listening. So now he sees a different perspective, right? He knew what his heart, the type of person I was, but he says to me, Ma, he said, you won't never talk bad about my dad. Why would I? That's your dad. And I think we really got to curve these conversations and watch, because at the end of the day, I don't care how mad that you are at the individual. It's about the child now. Y'all brought this child in this world. It's your responsibility to make sure this child grows up healthy, develop healthy, and be the best, be successful, whatever that means for that child. Like, it's our responsibility as parents. We can't blame one parent and lack our own responsibility. We really got to do this as a team. And if you don't, do the best that you can. Like, but one thing, don't ever bash the other parent.
Especially if they trying.
Yeah.
Maybe if they ain't, you still shouldn't bash.
But like, don't do it, because that kid is going to grow up and they're going to resent you, because they're going to believe like you done withheld them from their father. You was only trying to collect a paycheck. Like, all these things that they say. But if you continue to walk in integrity and really just focus on the main thing, which is the child, the outcome is going to be better. Like, when they go sit in a therapist's office and the therapist at 35 and the therapist talking to them, the therapist is going to help them realize that, oh, you did the best that you could and you ain't never bashed the person. Like, the therapist is going to be able to allow them to walk through those processes, not us putting stuff on them. And that's what I encourage anybody. We're about to run out. We are running out of time, y'all. But what I want to say is, thanks for coming on. But I want you to tell me,
appreciate it. Anytime.
What would you say out here to single dads, married dads, dads in general, of what they need to do, or how we need to either show up, come up, whatever you got to say to them, because I think it's important.
Listen, fellas, like I was saying earlier, man, just no matter what your situation is, just do the best that you can to be there for your child, especially my fathers of these young fellas out here, because they need us. What I'm saying, myself included. I'm an okay father. I don't consider myself the best. I'm doing my best, but I know I could do better. What I'm saying, don't let nobody tell you how you are as a father. Just know, what I'm saying, you'll know if you're doing a good job by how your kids respond to you. What I'm saying, they need you. They need us. And listen, we need this cohesiveness. We need unity. What I'm saying? That's one of my biggest things I preach in the community. So unity, man. It's all about and it may sound corny, but just be there for your kids, man. It's all we can do. They need us. What I'm saying? I understand some fellas are not in the situation, because that's what I hear a lot. Oh, you ain't in my situation. You got it easy. Yes, I may, because I have full custody of mine, but I went through that. What I'm saying? I went through the process, the battle to get that. What I'm saying? So, fellas, it's possible. What I'm saying? If you're not in the shape right now, get yourself together. Get your crib, work. Just do it the right way, man. Be here, be present, stay alive, and stay free. Be present, stay alive, and stay free. And everything else will fall into place, fellas. I promise you, man. Just keep trying. Be spiritual, whether you Muslim, you believe in God, Allah, whatever your faith is, just have faith, man. God will guide you down the path that is for you. And I guarantee you, your kids is on that path waiting for you.
All right. You hear from a father, right? A father who's living their life and in a community to help these young boys so they can grow up to be the best that they can be, and potentially be great fathers as well. Thank you so much, Ceez, for coming to the show.
I appreciate the invite.
As you know, we're bringing back the responsibility, nobility, and beauty back into parenting. We'll see you again next week. Thank you.